Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the 10 Laws Podcast with East Forest. I am said East Forest. Hope you've been having a good week. It's been a full moon. It seems like there is a lot of energy up and about out there. My goodness. Well, this is what it means to be walking through the fire, to be warriors of love. And it seems like we got to pull up everything we have, all the skills, stay in your practice, keep walking your walk, find good counsel, dive inside. This week, I wanted to do a little behind-the-scenes look at two songs from the Possible album because they have some stories and it's sometimes fun to pick them apart and just show you how they were made. We're going to get behind the song Sweetly Down and also the song What Is. And just before we do that, I want to just give you an update on those events that we got coming up here. September 14th in Denver, Colorado, and September 16th in Salt Lake City. And there's going to be some new information about another event added right at the beginning of September. We'll tell you about it, and it's going to be for the third week of September. I wish I could tell you more, but that's coming up soon. We're moving forward with these, so thank you for those who have committed to getting tickets. I believe the COVID policy right now at those venues is a vaccine or a negative test, so it gives you a little bit of options, but we're doing our best to be mindful and just give us also an opportunity to gather still and experience ceremony concerts and give us an opportunity, recognition that it's still important to support one another, but doing what we feel comfortable with and trying to do it in a way that feels responsible. But you can learn about these events, lots more details at eastforest.org/tour. Then I'll be at the Tree Fort Music Festival after that. Yoga Fort inside the Tree Fort Fest as well, and the East Forest Retreat in Southern Utah after that. And that's the month of September right there. So it's kind of crazy for me. It's like, wow, there's a lot going on all of a sudden in this month. But so I've been doing a lot of rehearsal and gearing up for that. Also, I just want to say thanks to everybody on the East Forest Council, which is on Patreon, patreon.com/eastforest. That's a space where you can support this podcast directly. We also have a monthly council, and we get together on Zoom, and we're able to sort of witness and track one another and do live stream meditations and AMAs and all sorts of things like that, as well as unreleased music that I can share and things of that nature. So thanks for the support, and thank you for subscribing and reviewing the podcast, and for everyone who supports by also listening to the music, sharing it, buying merch, and all that good jazz. So, Possible album, Sweetly Down. Sweetly Down was, a lot of the songs on this record started just with the piano. And this one, I believe, was done on my Charles Walter upright piano down in Southern Utah. I moved it down there a couple years ago. So, anytime I'm in Southern Utah, I can get a chance to, get in there and record. And it's really two parts. This often happens a lot for me, like where I kind of did the bottom part, sort of like something to play against. And then there's a second piano part where I can do like the solo part. And it's just an improvisation in the moment. And I try to do, like, when I'm in the recording mode, 1, 2, 3 of these a day for like a month, 6 weeks or so. And then I look back and kind of like see what I have. And sometimes in the moment, it doesn't feel like much. It's sort of like two different brains going on. There's the one that's actually playing and performing, and then there's the listener. And I come back as a listener, and you can almost like recognize the sweetness that was in the simplicity hidden there that I didn't know in the moment. I felt like this one had something special, like something sweet. And I liked it as is, but I also felt like it could use, more. Like it would be cool if it had sort of a call and response. And so I immediately thought of Sheela Bringi, who played on Mind Karma on the Ram Dass album. And she's just an incredible talent, incredible singer, incredible musician, composer, just she's just one of these musical prowesses, and she plays many instruments, but one of them that she plays quite well is the Bansuri flute. And I think I might have asked if she wanted to do the harp on this or the flute, but she was pulled towards the flute. And initially, the way I like to work with Sheila is just let her sort of play around and give me different ideas and different like little riffs that she might just think initially come to her mind. And then I'll play around with playing with those in the music. And initially she just sent me some simple ideas that were long and sustained. And they were all longer phrases. And I think because the music, it already has such sort of placid tone to it, that I was like, oh, I think it'd be cool, Sheila, if you could just rip it a bit, because she can rip. She can play some really cool lines and has a lot of technical virtuosity on the instrument. So I was like, I didn't want to give her too many notes, but I was like, just do another pass if you wouldn't mind, and kind of just let things flare and fly and see where they go. So from there, I felt like, all right, now we're good. Now I think we're getting somewhere. And she gave me, of course, like, I don't know, there are like 30 or 40 of those like riffs just all over the place that were perfect. So then it just became more of a job of exploring in the music itself. Like, it's more of now like a producer compositional idea, like which phrases should fit where, and create sort of an arc and a call and response to the music. And then that's just really a process of experimentation. And so I basically just kind of would try different ideas in different places and, see what fits where. And that's kind of what you hear in the song. So let's just listen to it now, since we have sort of a different perspective on it, and you can kind of just listen to Sheila's really amazing playing, and maybe just think about, like, where would you have put the ideas? Where would you have put the different phrases that she came up with? I think it's just fantastic. I love the call and response between the melody, the piano, and the flute. Yeah. So once I had that together, it's like Sheila makes it so easy, and just want to thank her for sharing her talents on that track. Sheela Bringi, she's got some wonderful music, and is a kirtan expert. She's got a whole world of music that I encourage you to dive into. You know, in another track, the one "What Is" actually had a very, very similar approach in that the musicians Thacher Schmid on violin and Owen Hofmann-Smith on cello. Was it cello or double bass? I think it's double bass, which not many people know how to bow very well, and he's great at that. So this song existed as the piano, and it existed as that pad that was in the background. And the pad in the background was just a very simple, like, synth idea that I was playing around with once, one of these days where I was trying to record just a couple improvisations, and I was like, maybe it'd be fun to toss a little, like, synth in the background. And it just repeats, which, you know, at first I'm like, that's kind of annoying, but it also, there's something beautiful about that. I couldn't put my finger on it, and I wanted to play against that. So I just basically, on the same Charles Walter little upright piano, I just set up the mics and just improvised against that. So at the time, I honestly didn't think too much of it because I'm like, well, there's not much going on there at the synth, and it's essentially a drone that I'm playing against, which I love drones. I love that space, but it's musically feels really simple because there aren't a lot of changes in it, so to speak. So it just was sitting there on the shelf as I was continued to write and record other songs, and as the album started to take shape, I booked a date in Portland. I booked the Map Room studio out, which I also booked a day or two out there for the Ram Dass record, because I have these wonderful musicians such as Thacher and Owen who live out there, and I just, you know, it's a great way to come in and get some people to come in to play on the record all while you're in, you know, one day in a studio. It's a little challenging to coordinate everybody's schedules, but sometimes there's magic to that too. So, they came in, Owen and Thatcher, and, you know, we had other things to record that day. We were just trying different ideas, and I was just thinking, like, you know, let's see what happens. Hey, Thatcher, I've got this thing. It's kind of a drone. Maybe you could kind of listen to what the piano's doing and just play sort of, like, respond to it, you know, and the piano too, and let me know what you think. So he just was in the booth, and he's just kind of riffing and messing around. Thatcher has such a unique way of playing, and that's why I love. He's an old friend that we met in Portland, and we just used to jam together back in the day, and still love to do that when I can. And you know, he's on I'm Loving Awareness. That's his work, and that's a really unique sound. Also a drone, that sound. But when he gets in there, he has such singular ideas that are very much like him. And sometimes, you know, sometimes they don't work, sometimes they do, and he throws a lot of ideas down, and I just kind of sift through them too, and then move things around and see what fits. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And Owen came in, maybe it was before or after, I don't know. But the idea was neither of them heard each other do what they did, if that makes any sense. Like, so Owen also had sort of the same directive from me, which is like, hey, just head in there with your contrabass, your double bass, and see what comes out. Just gave him some feeling. A beautiful, deep, deep tone. Yeah, we used ribbon mics, on this. It's probably a Coles. I think we're going through a beautiful Fairchild 670 clone they had there. So for those with really sharp ears, Owen plays on Dark Thoughts, among other things. He's also the cellist on Nature, on the Ram Dass album, and he's just another amazing talent. He also plays electric bass. I think he played on a lot of tracks. He played the upright bass on Home, and I'm quizzing myself on the spot, but on this track, we got to showcase his bowing capabilities. So once that was all done, it was like back home to see like, okay, how is this track now? And suddenly it had a whole new life, as usual, when you brought in new players and let them bring their talents to it. And I just started playing around with moving the tracks around, moving the phrases around to create a conversation between these four parts. I mean, the only thing that doesn't move around is that synth that is an ostinato, repeating pattern in the background. And that was the idea. It's like we're all pressing against that continuing idea that has that sense of annoyance but warmth in a way. And that was the idea for me about Against What Is. That was the original title, Against What Is. And then I shortened that to What Is. And it's sort of like that repeating synth pattern represents law, or life, the interminability of it. And we are the players on the playing field, dancing, responding, pulling, pushing, easing, going, receiving, giving against it. And I just found it really beautiful how that all came together. So we can take a listen now with that sort of mindset and see where the song fits for you. That was a phrase that Thacher did somewhere, I think more in the middle, and one of his takes. I thought it was a great kind of tag, as is that low note on the piano. But I just want to thank, Sheila and Thacher and Owen and everybody else who played on the Possible album, because I love bringing in the gifts of others like that, including arrangers like Lorna Doone, and even think about people like Taylor Dupree, who's mastered a lot of my work. That's a close relationship that helps shape the music as well. And in that way, it's very much a team effort. And so it's fun to get behind. It's also fun to remember how those songs were created. And a lot of this album started with just piano songs like that. And some wanted to have elements added on and some did not. And some transform more into orchestral pieces or have vocals, or in other albums, sometimes the piano goes away and is replaced by other instruments, whether a synthesizer or something else. So we're going to leave it there for now. But thank you guys so much for the messages and support. It's fun to see you share songs from the record on social media, and we appreciate the messages that you can reach out. We actually had I also appreciate the reviews of the podcast itself. There was one that I wanted to highlight that just came in because, it's always fun. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to even leave a review. So this comes in from Monsieur. Just says, thank you. 5 stars for the podcast. East Forest, sometimes I hear you go by Krishna. Thank you for the work you've done, do, and are doing. It speaks to me on a level I'm not sure I believed anything could so profoundly. There's so much in what you do that's generous and loving, healing, and holds space for the rest of us, for me. It is spoken up out of the blizzard of inputs that are out there, and through the fog and fuzz, and rings clear and true. Synchronicity proven. My gratitude. That is very, very sweet and too kind. But I just want to say thank you for taking the time to write that review. And for other folks who have sent messages of support. It is a crazy time for all of us, certainly for live musicians these days. And I feel very grateful that I'm able to make music that is a balm and medicine for myself and hear it reflected back there in the world and hear that maybe it does similar things for you. That's a circle of gifts right there. And that is enough for me. It feels good. Well, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you next week, get back into the conversations and so forth. I'm heading down to Boulder, Utah, down to southern Utah again for a couple weeks to get some work done in the studio down there and also get some rejuvenation with the landscape and play a little show for a private event. Until then, you guys keep walking your walk. Don't take any shit. But if you do it with grace.